What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV with your host here, Dano, giving you the best content that you're going to find on the internet. I promise you, if you stay for 10 minutes, you're going to stay for the entire episode because we have the legendary Bill Spearman here, willing to spend his time with us to give us some insights about his journey and everything that it took to become very successful as an assemblyman and everything that he's put his hands on to be where he is today. So, Assemblyman Bill Spearman, please, what do you have to say to the Positivity Posse before we get started?
Good evening. I hope everybody's feeling good and ready to rap.
There it is, short, sweet, to the point. So I hope you guys are making yourself comfortable out there. My Positivity Posse, we're bringing you the heat for today. And remember, this is not a passive experience. This is an active one. So if you have any questions, any comments, or you just want to show some love to me and to Bill Spearman, please leave it in the comments as well, and we will show it on the screen. And actually, we already have a comment from Lou saying, let's go already to start the show off hot. Thank you, Lou, for being here. And to everybody else, whether you're watching live or on the replay, we welcome you and we honor you, and we're thankful that you are here today. And Lou says excited for tonight's episode. Bill, you already got the people going, and we haven't even started. So let's get into it. Let's get into it with another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV, everybody. Let's get it. For being here for another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV. I see Lou is super excited, but you guys already know the drill. He's dropping the hashtag Positivity Posse, and I want you to drop the hashtag Positivity Posse as well, because we have a lot to cover in such a short amount of time with the legendary Assemblyman Bill Spearman being here tonight. And if you're watching or listening on Spotify, just to let you know, Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are here having a live experience, and where you can see my beautiful, wonderful face, the beautiful, wonderful face of the guests as well, which today is Bill Spearman and everybody else. So if you want to join in on this live experience and see what we have going on and cooking up here on Weekly Dose of Dano TV visually, then you can see us here at 9 p.m. on Thursdays. But if you prefer to hear our wonderful voices, then still do what you do. Listening on Spotify, we appreciate you that way. And we have a few things that we need to cover before Bill comes on. As you know, this is our time with the Positivity Posse, so let's get to it. Number one, I know I said this last week, but I was like, you know what? I said it, but I wanted to show you guys the proof. We have reached 100,000 viewers every single month, and here's just a picture to prove it. And I know that might seem like an arbitrary picture, but I pulled it from the statistics and the data, however you want to call it, on our websites that tracks all the analytics with everything. I don't want to show you too much, but just know that we are coming up there in numbers. So we've broken 100,000 viewers every single month. And I know I say it week in and week out, but I truly mean it. This show is not possible without you, my Positivity Posse. This isn't possible without the help of the sponsors that financially make this show possible to give you the best content, which is a shout out to our big sponsors. We're going to be showing out their commercials in their episodes for today. And then finally, the guests that always come on to share their positive and impactful stories, because without them, yeah, we could talk about it. And we've done several solo shows, but it's nice to hear from a third person's perspective as well. Or if we have a panel, it can be up to 8 people, right? Because we've done that before, where we had our panel talking about living life with autism. And more recently, we had a 2-hour special where we talked about different facets and different areas of people's lives that we can all come together to learn more about and improve on. So today, I just want to talk about that number, 100,000. it's great, but there's a lot of work that goes into that, right? And if there's something that you want to do inside of your own life, please just get started today. Don't worry about the results. Don't worry about how long it might take or it might not take. If you're doing these things from a place of love, which I do weekly dose of Dano every single week, the first 2 years of the show, which is a long time, but we weren't financially being supported by our communities or by the world, and it had to go through that. It had to be that way. But those first 2 years were very difficult. And if I would have kept that mentality of, I can't do this unless I'm being, financially sustained. If I didn't do it for the actual love of helping everybody else and to serve others, then we wouldn't be where we are today, right? So that's number one. Just please make sure that whatever it is that you want to get started, please get started. And I promise you, it may seem a little, I don't want to use the word, let's use that word. It may seem a little scary in the beginning, because when it comes to the unknown and finding the results, it might not happen right away. And there's a lot of unknowns that come with starting things. But just know, once we put a positive definition on what it is to really get started and to focus on the great things that'll come from it, then that's going to give you that extra motivation to keep going. The networking, the people that I've met, the positivity posse that we've built, there have been so many blessings, really. And I don't use that term lightly. There have been so many blessings that have happened to me in my personal life, in my professional life, that has all been possible because we have started and we decided to have that grit and that passion to keep going, to serve others. And that's what Weekly Dose of Dano TV, as you already know, or maybe you don't know, right? If you're tuning in for the first time, or you're just gazing into my beautiful, bright smile, and you're not listening to anything I'm saying, and the beautiful smile of Bill Spearman momentarily, but that is the key, guys. Find something that you want to do, and don't worry about the results. Just fully immerse yourself in it. Just do it with a place of love, and just watch all of the magic that happens. And then finally, one more thing that I want to talk to you guys about today is to really find what it is that you're passionate about. Because I know that can be something as simple as gardening, or it can be something as simple as collecting stamps, if people still do that nowadays, which is fine if people do, but I know everything's digital anyway. But find whatever that passion of yours is and act on it at your highest good at all times, right? Stop worrying about other people. Follow your inside passion, because you just never know where it may lead to. For us, we've, you guys have seen the growth and the amazing things that have been happening. Like even next month, the Salvation Army, the Kroc Center, they've hired me. This is very early. I don't know if I should tell you guys this yet, but they don't mind because they want us to do the promo. But two things: the major for the Salvation Army, the Kroc Center, Major Sanchez, will be coming on, and that's a very special episode for you guys. And I believe that's going to be October 3rd. We're actually going to go over there, set up our equipment, and do an in-person interview, which we've done before, but that's coming up for next month. And also as well, we have, there's going to be a Kroc Fest, and they have like 110 sponsors that are coming out. If you want to go check out their website, it's the Kroc Center, the Camden location specifically, where they're going to be celebrating 10 years of being around and supporting the Camden community as well. So like I said, you just never know what opportunities might come, but just stick with it and watch how the magic unfolds. Finally, last thing, there's two things that are going to be coming out next month or the following month. I can't remember. There's going to be my chapter in the anthology that you guys know about, and there's a lot of great substance, or a lot of great content that I've typed and written out to you in book form. So be on the lookout for that. And I've actually just wrote another book as well, which is kind of like a overcoming limiting beliefs journal. So you're going to have a spot to really identify what your limiting beliefs are, how to change them, how to grow through them, and what the truth actually is. So keep an eye out for that. And that is intended to come out next month as well. So I know I've been doing a lot of talking, and I say these things, ultimately, everything that I just said is not as to say, oh, look at me, I'm doing this, this, and that. I just want to be that inspiration for you. So if you have found that, then I'm so happy that you have come here on Weekly Dose of Dano TV, whether you're watching live or on the replay, to find and to be inspired by that. But if not, we have another gentleman here, which is Assemblyman Bill Spearman. So if I'm not motivating enough for you, please stick around to hear the exciting journey and all the lessons that Bill has gone through and has grown through. And when I tell you this is going to be a very special episode, I'm super excited. Stick around, you'll see. So please, before we bring Bill Spearman onto the show, I just want to just show a few comments. Lou says, "Killing it, Dano. Thank you so much. Hey, I want to be like you when I grow up. So I want to take after you because I know you're killing it as well. Lou, you tune in every single week, so I know that for sure." We have Jeanette here that says, "Go, just do it, go for it." And she's really excited for Bill Spearman to come on too. Welcome, Assemblyman William Spearman, the best assemblyman in the Camden County. So we're going to test that. I like to see how true this claim is. I already know it's true, but to the viewers, you guys are going to experience it as well. So we are bringing on Bill Spearman. Please leave some hearts, some comments, everything that you have to do to raise your vibrations and to have a warm welcome to Bill Spearman, everybody. Let's get it. Bill, let's go. It's time to come on to the show. Assemblyman, it is so great to have you. How are you doing today?
Doing good. Glad to be here.
Beautiful. Well, we just want to say before everything goes further, thank you so much for being here in the Positivity Posse. Is super excited for your appearance. So let's start with this. I keep calling you Assemblyman, and I know how to spell it, but I have no idea what the heck that means. So can you get us all, introduced to what an Assemblyman is or what you do?
Yeah, well, don't feel bad. When I first got appointed to the assembly, my kids said the same thing. What's that? Basically, an assemblyman, think of it this way. You're familiar with Congress and the Senate on the federal level. For each state, they have an assembly and a Senate. So we're the lower house of the New Jersey State Legislature. We're basically the ones who put together the budget, and then it's approved by the governor.
Wow. Very short, sweet, and to the point. And how long have you been serving in your position?
Since 2018.
Wow. 2018 seems like a century or an eternity ago because so many great things and not so great things have happened along the way. So, Bill, can you give us the backstory into how you got into the seat of being an assemblyman?
Well, I was blessed. I was born and raised in Camden. I still live in Camden, right on Bear Boulevard in Parkside. I actually grew up in McGuire Gardens, went to Woodrow Wilson High School, and worked my way through undergrad and Temple grad school, Rutgers undergrad, Temple grad school, and married my childhood sweetheart, Michelle, who also grew up in Parkside. And we decided to dedicate ourselves to making Camden a better place to live. So that's what I've been doing. And I've been blessed to be appointed to this seat.
Beautiful. And there's nobody else that we would rather have than you, because if we look at your track record, you've done so many amazing things for the city of Camden, specifically because that's where I'm from, and all the surrounding areas, because you just don't oversee Camden. You oversee so many different townships and counties as well. So you just mentioned Camden, and let's start right there because growing up in Camden isn't as easy as growing up somewhere else. And we can make the case that, we kind of had it rough here growing up, but that is what made us into who we are today. So can you talk about what lessons, maybe like one or two lessons that you learned growing up in Camden that you feel have helped you become the great leader that you've become today?
Wow. There's been so many lessons. I've been blessed to have a mother. My mother was an AME minister, African Methodist Episcopal minister. My family has been with me, and they've been my backbone. I'd say the best lesson I've learned in the city is it's always better to serve. It's always better to help somebody else. It's always better to put yourself out there and help somebody else to make their lives better. And that's what my life's been about.
And from a mental and a spiritual and a physical example or standpoint, helping somebody else is the quickest way to make yourself feel better, and not from a place of ego. But I mean, you guys probably have experienced this plenty of times. Have you ever been given a compliment? Have you ever gave a compliment or received a compliment? If you're on either end of that situation, that is just the really starting point or lighting the fire and the flame to get on that positive track. And Bill, like you said, you used the word blessing twice. We need to give blessings to others in order to receive, right? Because it's a perfect circle, is what I like to tell everybody all the time, right? The more that we give, the more that we can receive, and the more that we receive, the more that we can give. So, how did you take this position where somebody like me, I would be scared to be where you're at right now and be like, oh, but what if I mess up? What if somebody likes me? How did you spin where you're at right now to really determine that it is a blessing?
Well, it all started with service. My wife and I started a nonprofit community development corporation in Parkside. We came together to rehab houses, so to give people a decent place to live. Then I ran for city council. I was appointed to city council, and I ran and got reelected. And ultimately, they needed somebody in the assembly, and they gave me a shot. And I see it as an opportunity to make a big difference in the lives of people in New Jersey. Some of the things we've done are increase the minimum wage to $15 an hour. We've created the anchor program where people can get $1,500. Homeowners can get $1,500 back on their taxes. Renters can get $450 back, and other things. So it's been a blessing. It's been an honor to be that the people of the 5th District have trusted me, entrusted this responsibility to me. So I have to give back every day.
And giving back, well, thank you so much, like I said, for everything that you do. And giving back maybe something that people lose along the way. And I know, specifically in politics, that has its own stigma and its own reputation. But people that become very successful, they can kind of lose their way along the path. So, what is it that has kept you so grounded? Because I remember the first time I ever met you, just very smiling and open, and I had no idea that you were, in a position of power, because you were just, like I said, very down to earth, very humble, smiling. So, what is it that keeps you anchored throughout your success that you've achieved throughout the years?
I think about where I came from. I think about growing up in the projects. I think about the people who believed in me and gave me a chance and supported me when I ran for office, when I supported me on my projects. My wife and I are Camden High marching band boosters. And, going out and selling stuff, feeding the kids during halftime. I mean, it gives you a great feeling inside. In fact, in my office, I try and reach out to college students. I ended up working my way through undergrad and grad school. And I reach out to college students and give them internships in my office, paid internships, while they work their way through, so that they can also move on to bigger and better things.
That's beautiful. And like you just said too, the biggest word that I got out of that was paid, right? Because everybody wants to get paid
Got
nowadays. And
that right.
yeah, it's beautiful that you give these students and these people the opportunity, because depending on how you look at the world, some people may think that there's not enough opportunity out there. Others believe that there's an abundance of opportunities out there. So why is it that that you want to help the young people specifically? Is it because they're trying to get their way started out there? Is it because they are more fun to be around? Why is it that you want to help young people?
Well, it's always good to have that new perspective, and young people being able to look at a problem through different eyes or from a different perspective leads to better legislation. My current aide, Reese Jones, whose family is from Camden, he actually lives in Magnolia now, but you know, I involve him as I'm building legislation and creating legislation, and they give me feedback and they help me to look at things a little bit differently. Um, so it's a two-way street. We help each other. Um, I've been blessed to have a number of my former students move on to bigger and better things. One works for the US EPA now. One works for Cory Booker. Another works for a private consulting firm. And two more are going back to law school. So giving back makes me feel better. it makes me feel like I'm making a difference in somebody's lives.
Of course. And I know for everybody watching out there, we can think about the person that gave us our opportunity or the person that supported us, whether it was just a compliment, maybe a place to stay, whether it was something to eat. Think about those times that these people have made such a great difference in your life, and go out there and be that example or be that role model for the next generation, because they do have such, I think, a harder time than what I had growing up or what other people had growing up, because they can't really escape it with the addition of social media and the phone. And I'm not here to compare experiences, but it's harder for them to get away from it, because even at home they are out there, or they're at home, and they get to experience kind of the negativity, whether it's going on in their own schools, in their communities, or out there in society. So for the next generation specifically, please make sure that you are giving them the support that they need, because it is such a challenging time. So, Bill, we just have to hear a word from our first sponsor. And since we are talking about the next generation and youth, we're going to show the power of choices. As you guys already know, I actually co-founded the Power of Choices, me and Mark Hoberman, where we go into schools, camps, organizations, soon to be corporate as well, to teach people about mental resilience, substance prevention, what it takes to be the best version of yourself, leadership training, all these different things, as you'll see in the sponsorship commercial as well. Because this is what we need now more than ever. There is, if you talk to some people, it depends, like I said, who you talk to. There might be a mental health crisis nowadays. So if you are experiencing that, or anybody that is experiencing that, please refer them to the Power of Choices or to Weekly Dose of Dano TV, so they can find that extra inspiration, or reach out to Will Spearman as well. And I don't want to throw him out there because he's a very busy man, but I'm pretty sure that he can get you connected with the right people. So here's a word from our first sponsor, the Power of Choices.
What we do is very interactive, but very, very powerful, because look, yeah, I was an educator for 30 years. I don't believe in just academic education. The lack of character education, which is what we do, changes a culture, and it doesn't take 3 months or 3 years to do it.
We are the guys that come in that will teach these kids everything that they need in order to really be the best version of themselves and to get the skills to succeed in life, no matter what life throws at them. There it is, everyone. The Power of Choices. Thank you so much for sticking with us and really learning more about what it takes to have that mental resilience through Assemblyman Bill Spearman's journey and his story as well. So, Bill, I know you just mentioned about how the younger generation, they are able to help you see things in a new light or a different light. Can you give us an example of what was one of those decisions that Reese or somebody else that was younger helped you see?
Well, I mentioned one of my interns. Normally my interns start with me when they're in their sophomore or junior year of college. One of my interns, and I don't want to put her name out there, but the one that's actually with the US EPA now, she actually worked with me on creating a legislation called the New Jersey Parks Foundation. What that legislation does, and it has been signed into law, and we now have in the state of New Jersey a parks foundation that goes out of the state and raises money to support our state, county, and local parks. The inspiration for this is the park right next to the Kroc Center, actually, because once the state helped us build that park, we were standing there at the groundbreaking or the ribbon cutting, and we're saying, well, how are we going to pay to maintain this thing? So it was that intern. She was with me at that time, and we put our heads together and came up with the idea of creating a Parks Foundation. So they'll go out to the Gates Foundation or Subaru or Campbell Soup, and they'll actually raise money to help maintain that park.
Wow. And it's interesting because, as we all know, we're in the digital age right now, and kids in parks, I don't hang around parks, so I wouldn't know, but I feel like that's kind of like a dying thing where, kids aren't going outside as much or as frequently as probably we did when we were growing up. So, Bill, why is that such an area or emphasis of focus that you want to focus on the parks? And number two is, what results have you seen from establishing these foundations for the parks?
Well, the foundation was just signed into law last year. They're actually choosing people to be to be a part of the foundation right now. So they haven't actually started raising money yet, but
Okay.
they will start raising money soon. And the objective is to raise millions of dollars so that taxpayers don't have to pay more money to maintain our parks.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you, and when we talk about why parks are so important, go to Cooper River Park on a Saturday or in the morning and watch people running and walking and the kids playing in the playground. It's very special. It's a place where people can come together, get outside. And, social media is great, but there's nothing like going out and playing a game of basketball or, hanging out. You don't have to go to Cooper River. You could go to Farnham Park, which is 2 blocks from my house. That park is always busy. In the summertime, it's busy constantly.
For sure. And, you just brought up Cooper River Park as well. So I guess I kind of forgot about Cooper River Park because I'm usually there, especially during the summertime, about 2 to 3 times a week. So, yeah, you're so right. I guess I kind of overlooked that on my own aspect because I was doing, the jumping rope and the push-ups and just going to explore the scenery as well. So, yes, you're so right. And that view of Philly and it being right on the water, it is kind of a form or an escape, for somebody that might not be having that great of a time in their current environment or in their household. So, and you get to have that mental, that physical exercise as well along the way because, I find it to be kind of meditative when you're going and you're walking and you're seeing the other people, but you have the cars going by and you got people eating their lunch and as a picnic. It's really a great environment. So yes, you're so right. There's so many benefits of going to the parks and being out there and going to explore what your city has to offer as well, which is so great. So thank you for shedding some light on that. But Bill, I know we just talked about that idea of service, and a lot of people think, and we have experienced that if we want to go out there to give the best version of ourselves or to give our communities a fighting chance to be the best version of themselves, sacrifice is a big piece of the puzzle as well. So even though you're totally giving, there has to have been something that you sacrificed along the way. So would you be able to tell everybody what that thing is that you sacrificed to help everybody be at their pinnacle and the best that they can be?
Well, I already gave the example of the Marching Panther Boosters. We also supported the Creative Arts Jazz Band. Both of my kids are musicians. They both went to Creative Arts High School. And they're currently musicians, as a matter of fact, and they give back. The oldest works with the Idea Center on Federal Street. The youngest is on tour right now with a group called Snack Time.
Okay.
Snack Time Philly. So what have I sacrificed? You know what? I don't really think of it as sacrifice, but time and money. Being there to watch, being at all the jazz festivals. Every Friday night, we were at a different jazz festival at a different high school in different parts of South Jersey and Pennsylvania. Going on the trips with the kids, being chaperones. As I said, we used to, with the marching band, we used to make the sandwiches that the kids would eat. They do the halftime show, and then they come and eat our sandwiches. Luckily, they have a better company works with the Camden school system now, and they provide them with great food. I think it's Witham is the name of the company. But volunteering at my church, making a difference there with the kids at my church. It's just, it doesn't take a lot. It just takes time. Just taking the time to be there when somebody else needs you.
Yeah, a lot of people think that when it comes to supporting others, like you said, the first thing that comes up is monetary, right? Which is nice, but it doesn't always have to be that way. When we take the time to help somebody feel seen, or to, like you just said, make them feel full, and to give them a, a bite to eat, those little things, I promise you, you never know what you're doing during those times that you're helping that person out. They may have just gone through the worst time of their life. And that's why it's really important for us to go out there and to spread that love and positivity, not only because it sounds good, but because it feels good as well. And even though you might not see the result of exactly what your action that you're taking is right in that moment, don't think that you're not investing into yourself, just as Assemblyman Bill Spearman has been, investing into the communities as well in South Jersey. So that is a big thing that we need to talk about right now. And it's about that form of investing, not only, physically, but like you just said, you invested mentally and spiritually as well through the volunteerism that you've done through your church. So how important, on a scale of 1 to 10, which I already know what the answer is going to be, but what's that important of investing in yourself mentally and spiritually? Does it outweigh the physical? Is it just as equal? How important is that for everybody going through it right now?
Well, life is balance. Everything has to be in balance. So it's not just working on your physical self, it's also working on your mind and your spirit, trying to be the best person that you can be. And I just want to point out that your show right now is making a difference in people's lives. Somebody's watching the show right now and watching all the positivity that you are giving out, and they're thinking about themselves. They're thinking, wow, you know what? Maybe I can be a better person. Maybe my life is not as bad as I thought it is. And that's really positive. You're making a difference in lives, and that's what it's all about.
Well, thank you so much. And that's what we do here week in and week out on Weekly Dose of Dano TV. But like I said, it's not about me. It's about everybody else showing up, because even though, like you just said, they might show up for me, it's not really about me. It's about themselves. They're showing up for themselves, because by being here and listening or watching every single Thursday at 9, that is how they're able to learn more about themselves, so they can implement the skills in order to become very successful, to find true happiness, in order to help somebody else out. Whatever it is that you're coming here to get, I'm just happy and honored that Bill, for this episode, Bill and I are able to provide that for you. But to everybody that's watching right now, you are showing up for yourself every single day. Don't ever forget that. So thank you so much for the kind words, Assemblyman. We appreciate that so much. Now, as everything that we've talked about so far, for the most part, has been about, the sacrifice and really investing into yourselves, it most likely, and actually, let me not even say most likely, because I know for a fact it hasn't really been easy at all. So can you talk about, maybe it was a time that you served, that it was kind of that side, that time of uncertainty? What was the hardest time that you've had to face so far in your service, and how did you overcome these challenges or these obstacles?
Well, do you mean in my entire life, or?
Well, it's more so specifically since 2018, since you've been serving in the position where you've been.
It's really challenging when you have a good idea, and an idea that's going to help people. For instance, growing up in the projects, growing up in Camden, I remember when I was working my way through undergrad, and I was living in Ablett Village at the time, and people would say to me, why are you spending your time, why are you going to college? You're never going to use that stuff. You're never going to use an education. Forget about it. So based on that, I put together legislation that is modeled after Cathedral Soup Kitchen. Cathedral Soup Kitchen has a program. It's in East Camden on Federal Street. They have a program where they feed up to 300 people every day at their soup kitchen. And the way they do it is they have a chef or restaurant training program where they take people who don't have a lot of skills and they teach them how to work in a restaurant. And you'll find people, sometimes you'll find people who want to make a difference. They want to get a decent job. They want to make a decent living so they can support themselves, but they just don't have the social skills needed to be able to get on a job, work every day. When they're not going to be at work, how to call in and let their supervisor know they're not going to be there, how to get paid on Friday and come back on Monday as opposed to coming back next Thursday. And it's little things that people who are used to working every day take for granted. A lot of people don't have those skills. And that's what Cathedral Soup Kitchen does. So I put together a legislation to allow the private sector to make contributions to places like Cathedral or Camden County College or some of our technical schools to help pay for people to learn those soft skills. And I did that when I first got in 2018, and I'm still trying to get that bill passed.
Wow.
So when you talk about frustration, but every year I get a little bit closer. I managed to get it through the assembly. In order to get a bill passed, signed into law, first it has to pass both houses, the assembly and the Senate, and then it has to be signed by the governor. So I've gotten it through the assembly. Now I'm going to get it through the Senate, and then I'll get it signed. So, but that is the frustration I feel. That's just an example of when you have legislation to make a difference in people's lives, and it's convincing people to see it. Because if you didn't grow up in the inner city, it's hard to understand how anybody would not have those soft skills. But if you grew up in Cherry Hill where your dad was a CEO and your friend's mom was a nurse and your other friend's, uncle was a CFO, it's things you take for granted that people from the inner city have to deal with, that people out from outside the city don't understand. And that's why you have to be patient, put it in prayer, and keep pushing until you can get it done.
I love that. What a great answer. And I want to hear more about that as that, develops. So please keep in touch, because it's going to sound very interesting. And I don't know how long that may be, maybe an additional 3 years. It may be as soon as next year. Who knows? But thank you so much for providing that, because it's exactly like you said. There are just so many different worlds out there that everybody has a different experience. So when you're going out there, don't actually automatically assume that everybody knows everything that you know, or that you know something that everybody else knows, right? And that's why it's so important to have our communication skills down, to make sure that we can learn from one another and we can teach one another as well. Because when we do stand together and we're not, trying to tear each other down or trying to put each other down, or, all the negative side of stuff, we can make a lot more, headway. We can make a lot of great changes along the way as well. So Bill, we have to hear a word from our second sponsor, but before we go to our second sponsor, what was one of the things, last question before the break, what was one of the things that you didn't know was out there? Because like you just said, all these people don't have the soft skills, that were inside the Camden, like you said, when you were growing up. So what was one thing that you had no idea existed that you had to learn? And that can be anything from when you were in college, as you're serving right now. What was one of those things that you had to learn throughout the way?
Well, when I was growing up in McGuire, when I was growing up in the projects, I had no clue about how development worked. I didn't understand careers. I didn't understand how, growing up a poor kid, you want to have a nice house, you want to have a nice car, you want to have a nice job, but you don't really know what that is. And that's one of the things I had to learn when I got to college. I had to learn what those careers are and what the compensation is when you go into different careers. For me, when I was coming out of Woodrow Wilson, it's like, okay, you want to be a doctor or an engineer or a basketball player or a football player. That's it. That's where my head was. And it wasn't until I actually got into Rutgers, got it, and then went to Temple for grad school that I really found out what I wanted to do with my life. So that was tough growing up.
For sure. And, I think one of the biggest things that I didn't really know about growing up was the idea of how much money is truly out there that is enough for everybody, right? Because like you said, when we grow up in these environments that may, seem to have a lot of lack, we think that, that's all life really is, and that everything is outside of you and it only happens to everybody else. And there's no way that it could happen to you. But, if you're going through that or you're struggling through that, I want to be, and Bill is definitely a great example of it, but you don't have to go through life with such a limited and lack mindset. It's actually when we change our belief system to understand that there is enough for everybody out there, then that is when you can start to see those opportunities really pop up into your life as well. So that was my biggest thing, is changing that mindset from lack to a mindset of abundance as well. So Lou says right here, he says, great stuff. And Jeanette says right here, giving back. And you guys have been lighting it up in the comments. So please drop some more comments. As you already know, this is an interactive experience. We appreciate you so much for being here. And actually, our next sponsor for Weekly Dose of Dano TV is It Takes a Village. It Takes a Village Housing. And they're going to be having a diaper drive coming up very, very soon. I will share the flyer as soon as we come back. But everybody, don't go anywhere. Like, share, and keep those vibrations up, because we still have to get through the last and final segment of Weekly Dose of Dano TV. And we'll see you right when we get back.
Takes a village about keeping our families together.
God bless this organization.
So everybody, that was our word from our second sponsor, It Takes a Village Housing. Thank you so much for sponsoring Weekly Dose of Dano TV, and keep doing all the great things that you're doing, working with mothers and children as well to help in the Camden community specifically, and then soon to be, who knows where that's going to go, all over the world, hopefully sometime soon. So thank you for sponsoring Weekly Dose of Dano TV. And Mr. Spearman, I have a visionary question for you. Are you ready?
Sure.
Let's do it. So 20 years from now, I will be, I'm 47. So if you guys do quick math, I'm 27 right now. What kind of community or vision do you see for Camden specifically, because that's where we're at, but it could be, Camden or whichever town you're, let's do Camden because you did grow up in Camden as well. What vision do you see for our city in about 20 years?
Well, my graduate degree is in real estate and urban land use. And what you see in real estate and urban land use is trends. Everything goes in cycles. So you'll see a cycle of decline that happened with our cities in the Northeast and the Midwest, where everybody moved out of the cities to the suburbs, and the cities suffered. basically we suffered with concentrated poverty, we suffered with crime, we suffer with people being hungry, all of those things that are associated with concentrated poverty. But what you see now is you see that trend reversing. Jersey City, for example, you see people moving back to the cities. And that's going to happen in Camden. Camden is already, the values, the home values in Camden have doubled. And I don't have the real numbers, but I know my house has doubled in value over the past year. It's crazy. And I think our challenge now is to make sure as the cities start to come back that we provide opportunities for the people who live here, not just in Camden, but in Atlantic City, Trenton, Jersey City. It's already happening in Jersey City. Gentrification's already happened and people are being pushed out. We got to make sure that doesn't happen here. We got to make sure that we provide the services our people need so that they can raise their income, so that they can be a part of this renaissance that's coming to the inner city and not left behind or forced out. So in 20 years, Camden, you'll see values that are similar to Collingswood. You'll see neighborhoods that are livable. You'll see a school system that people are fighting in the suburbs, fighting to get into the city. You're going to see these things, and it's already happening with our police force, with our home values. You're seeing it happen now.
Yeah, I'd love to see that change and to be kind of on that pioneer stage, to, if you want to call it that, but the early stages of the Reformation and everything going in a positive direction, right? Because there's still some people out there that may not see all the great things that are going on, but like you said, it starts right now. And in order to make that change, to have that change 20 years from now, it needs to start right now. And I want to take that to say that's with everything in our lives, right? If there's something that you want to do, if you want to follow your dreams, or if you want to, start that business or take up a new hobby, it starts right now. There's no better time to do it than right now, because let's use that same time frame of 20 years. The same 20 years are going to pass if you do it or if you don't do it. And most of the time, people don't do it. So that time is going to pass anyway, because they're waiting for that perfect moment, because they're waiting for their big break, or whatever excuse it is that you want to give to yourself. We need to cut those excuses out, because understand, time waits for no person. So now is the best time to do it. And to see that, result in 20 years, it all starts right now. And if we take, if we are going on a straight line, right, and we move it a half a centimeter over to the left, and instead of 20 years, we take that to distance and we do, 200 yards or 200 meters, you'll see a big change in the trajectory of everywhere in the line of the change, in the change of the line. So it's the same thing with our lives as well. But fortunately, we are much more complex and much more sophisticated than a straight line. So you know what that means, right? That means that the compound effect takes place, and it can happen way sooner than you think. But it won't happen if you don't begin at all. And Bill Spearman, I don't know if you can talk about this, but he just said, economic growth, housing growth, and all these different growths. And there have been some talks about the Sixers possibly moving to the Camden waterfront. So, if there's somebody out there that may not see the benefits of that coming into the city, is it possible for you to give what might be some pros to that happening? I don't want you to say if it's going to happen or not, because I don't know if if you're able to talk about it, but what would be some advantages of that happening as far as the economic and the housing growth that we just discussed?
Imagine living in a neighborhood where you feel safe. Imagine living in a neighborhood where your grandmother can walk to the store and people will help her open the door for her when she goes into the store and make sure she gets home safely, where your children can play in the street and you don't have to worry about them. Imagine a place where where the the people who are successful are not the ones who are participating in illegal activities. Instead, there are people who are making a decent living and doing something that will not get them killed or put in jail. Imagine that being where we are right now, here in Camden. I'm sitting on my porch right now in Parkside, 2 blocks from Camden High.
What? I would have never guessed that.
Hey, and it can happen, and it's happening. As our community, as we take back our communities, it's happening in North Camden, it's happening in Parkside, it's happening in Kramer Hill. We still got a long way to go. We're not there yet, but we're moving in that direction. And when we start to bring in more like-minded people who want to raise their families here, people who were born here and grew up here, we want them to want to come back after they go to college or stay here when they get that, when they become a journeyman in the laborers union or the carpenters union. We want them, if they become a teacher or, or a mailman, we want them to want to raise their family here. And that can happen. And I guess the second part of your question is, how do you take advantage of this? When this happens, when these communities start to redevelop, they're going to need carpenters. They're going to need electricians. They're going to need developers. They're going to need bricklayers. They're going to need people to build the houses. They're going to need people to maintain the houses. We're going to need young people to teach our children. All these, when people start to raise their children here, we're going to need a new generation of teachers, a new generation of firemen, a new generation of policemen. And that can happen. We just have to create a community that people want to stay in and be dedicated to. And it is happening. So I'm encouraged.
So am I too. And it's exactly like you said earlier, when it comes to that cycle of, things going up and things back down, from talking with a few people, older people that have, lived here all their entire lives, they told me about that, to say that, Camden used to be the place to be back in the day. And I'm looking at these people like, what the heck are you talking about? Do you not see or not know what's going on nowadays? But they said it wasn't always like this. And now we are experiencing, I believe, that concept and those strategies of economic upturn and, like you said, community upturn as well. So thank you for making that all possible for my generation and the following generations and everybody to come as well. And I know that a lot of people may not believe or want to understand that that's actually the case of what's happening. So if there's somebody out there that's watching that may not know, or they may not fully be aware of what's going on, is there like a myth or a popular belief that is just false that you can disprove or help them see that it's really not true?
The myth that as soon as you cross the border of Camden, you're going to be raped, shot, and murdered. I mean, but think about it, man. I used to do waterfront development. I spent 12 years at Cooper's Ferry Development Association, what's now the Camden Partnership. And I built the baseball stadium. I was the project manager for the Victor Building. I was there and built a number of the parks on the waterfront. And when I first went there, I mentioned I worked my way through grad school. I was actually working at Cooper's Ferry in 1992, working my way through grad school. And that was before the entertainment center was there. The only thing that was there was the aquarium, the parking garage, and L3 Communications. None of that other stuff was there.
What?
Yeah. And when we first proposed building the entertainment center, everybody said, "Who is going to come to Camden? Nobody's coming to Camden. Are you kidding me?" Last year, according to the freeholder director, Camden, the Camden waterfront, just the waterfront, attracted over 2 million visitors. And they do that every year. So people are coming now. And the view of the city has changed. I use North Camden as an example. North Camden, I was just there with a family that is basically they created a park not far from I think not Elm Street. I'm not sure the street. It's like 2nd and York, or very close to the waterfront. Not the waterfront. And the improvements that's happened there are amazing. It's a different place from when I was growing up, when I was living in Ablett Village. North Camden is a nice place to live. And a lot of the neighborhoods in the city aren't bad places to live, and they're getting better. So perhaps I'm the eternal optimist, but you know what? When I look at the way it was when I was a little kid, I remember as a little child, because before we went to the projects, I lived on Marion Street. I remember watching a parade down Broadway when I was in, you know how when you were real little, they put you in those snowsuits? You can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like that, watching a parade going down Broadway. I think I must have been 2 or 3. But that time is coming about again. And I'm glad to be a part of it. And I'm glad you're a part of it.
For sure. I was going to say that too. Like, everything that you're saying is true, because I'm here in North Camden and I've experienced a huge change ever since I was, growing up from a small kid. I mean, if we look outside, I remember I was not allowed to actually step outside without shoes, because there could be needles on the ground or, various objects that are out there that, could potentially harm me. And now that's not a case. I mean, I still go out there because I just don't like the way, my feet get dirty from stepping out there. But I don't have to worry about those things that I had to worry about of people, trying to maybe harm me, or because everything's been cleaned up. Even something as simple as the street being repaved. That's something that wasn't around when I was young, but now get to experiencing that now, where I won't get any flat tires, or, my car won't get jacked up, because we're taking care of the streets. That is just a trickle-down effect, and it affects everything as well that goes along with it. So thank you for leading that change, and for somebody like me to get to experience it, and like I said before, all the future generations as well. Because it doesn't start if the people in the power are not willing or not able to help the residents, and specifically Camden, but in the surrounding areas as well. So thank you for that. And Bill, we only have actually 1 more minute left for the show. We might go over a little bit, but that's okay. But my question to you is this, and we always wrap up the show in the same exact way. And I know resilience is a big part of what you're talking about. And as you saw earlier with the Power of Choices, which I'm the co-founder of, we talk about mental resilience in schools and to the younger generations, or possibly the college kids as well. But if there's somebody out there right now that needs help with that mental resilience, what pieces of advice would you have to give to them in order to help them see through whatever it is that they're going through right now?
Well, I'll be completely honest with you. It's been my faith. My faith in the Lord has been what sustains me on a daily basis. It's the reason why I'm not dead or in jail. My family has been supportive. That's been great, and that's part of the journey too. But at my core, what it all boils down to is my faith in the Lord, and believing that He will take me where I need to go, as long as I'm serving His will, not my will, His will. Because it's not about me. It's about what I can do in the service of my God. So that's what it's about with me.
Boom, mic drop. There it is, everybody. Our episode is coming to an end of Weekly Dose of Dano TV. Assemblyman Bill Spearman here, dropping us the golden nuggets and the knowledge that we need in order to live life to the fullest, to overcome any obstacles that we might be going through, and to ultimately achieve happiness through everything, through the good of it and the bad of it as well. But I don't like to use good and bad because it's all good. But, you know, even though if we might not see it that way, Bill has dropped the golden nuggets for us in order to make sure that we're living these great lives. And Bill, I just want to say that one more thing, that raising your kids here is the ultimate testament of you achieving the success and giving back to the community as well. So if you're willing to raise your kids here, I can only imagine to see all the great things that are going to happen in the future because of what you've done and the work of the other leadership as well here in Camden and the surrounding areas. So just a few comments here. We have Jeanette. She's giving you the flexing emoji and 100. She says, great show as always, Lou. Great episodes as always. So thank you so much. He also said, wow, 2 million people. That is a lot coming to the waterfront as well. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here. And next week, we have a great guest coming on. But you're going to see that on Weekly Dose of Dano TV, our social media pages. That you can follow me right here. If you have any questions for Bill Spearman, you can reach out to him there or reach out to his office as well. Bill, where can they reach out to you if they have any questions?
Well, my office is in Woodbury, and you could just find me at, wow, that's a good question. You can find me on social media. We have an Instagram page. Now, my aide Reese takes care of all this, but just call my office in Woodbury. Call information. Sylvia, she's great, and Reese is there too.
There it is, everybody. And I actually called yesterday because I needed to get through to Reese, actually, and they were so warm and welcoming. So you're doing a great job. Everybody, please be safe this weekend, and we'll see you next week for another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV. Peace, everybody. Stay safe, and I'm excited, and I can't wait to see you next week. Peace.